dying. I am fond of pointing out the fact that we have normalized insanity, and it is very easy to laugh when I say those words.
The Nigerian is not a citizen. Citizenship in any state or country exists on an even keel. You cannot have variable levels of citizenship. It is not possible that the man from one part of the country is more valuable in the scale of citizenship than the next. It cannot tilt.
Good evening. What a wonderful evening today is. This is Thursday. It's 7 p.m. And you know, this is that moment when we're glued to our devices and to all the different platforms on which we stream to have a wonderful conversation. And tonight's conversation promises to be an amazing, amazing conversation. Well, maybe I'd also ask, how have you been? How has your week been? I believe that we're making the best of this moment, even in our country where there's so much uncertainty and so many things that are out of sync. But we still can, just gain the advantage, especially as we begin to look towards the roles that we can play in bringing about good governance and in birthing a new nation. Tonight's conversation promises to be explosive. And right now, I'd want you to just, share the link, invite your friends to come on board. We're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and honestly, get ready for an amazing, amazing time. One other thing I'd want you to do, and this has been a tradition with us, is that if there are any questions you have in the course of the conversation, please endeavor to just post it on the different platforms, and it comes to us in the studio, and we'll be able to, read your questions. Tonight, I have the privilege, and it's really one of those moments that I've longed for. And tonight's guest is none other than Dele Farotimi. And here he is on the set. Welcome, Dele. Welcome to the conversation.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. And thanks for inviting me too. Thank you.
Well, great to have you here. Lots of Nigerians know you already. But quite clearly, you're a lawyer. You are one who is passionate about Nigeria. You're one who has been at the forefront of the fight for freedom, one way or the other, from your days in the university as well. And you are one who is a member of the Citizens Rally Against Oppression. So for you, oppression is a huge word. It is one that you have stood through time and have made every attempt to stand against and to fight. So, Dele, let me begin by putting this across to you. Nigerians were once known to be the happiest people on the earth. But right now, it looks as if we are competing for top place in being the most inhumane people upon the face of the earth. I mean, in recent times, we all know what happened 2010, 2020 at Lekki. And we saw inhumanity. We saw young people who were fighting against inhumanity. And suddenly, they found themselves exposed to diverse levels of inhumanity that we are still reeling from today. And so the question I want to put is what's the problem with us? What has gone wrong with us? Because it seems as if inhumanity has become the order of the day with Nigerians. So what truly is going on with us? We laugh at the things that we should cry at. We make jokes of the things that we actually should mourn. So what's going on? What's happening to Nigerians?
Okay. The question you got packs a whole heap of punch, but let's try and break it. I've had a running argument with some friends. I've argued Nigeria is not corrupt. What has happened to us is that we've been perverted. Our very humanity has been perverted to the point where we do not even appear to have a clear understanding of what is wrong and what is right anymore. We've even gone as far as to change the ordinary everyday meaning of words. We do all kinds of things that should be abominations even to anyone who is only mildly intelligent. And yet, it does not appear to even faze us. So when things happen around us and we turn around, like the incidents you've used, for example, the killings of the 20th of October at the toll gate, you will find that even after the killing, fellow Nigerians who watched live feeds on Instagram were busy mouthing the lies that the government was spreading. So you find very quickly that we are not just dealing with an iniquitous, evil government. The people themselves, the victims, are they really victims or are they even complicit in the evil? So when it comes to the question of the Nigerians' humanity, I think it is critical that we begin to ask ourselves exactly what makes a person human, because the Nigerian has been turned into some sort of survivalist who is only constantly seeking to live until the next day. We are no different from persons in the war zones. Maybe we should even just admit to ourselves that we're already at war and our humanity have been perverted, because that is what has happened to us. We walk right past dead bodies. It means nothing to us. We catch a man who has stolen what he wants to eat and we put a tire around his neck and we kill it. And then we give chieftaincy titles to people who have literally lost blind as a people. So really, the humanity of the Nigerian is already suspect. So it's all well and good for us to turn around and blame the government for its obvious evils. Government on every level in Nigeria is patently evil. Yes, but how about us? Perhaps we start looking in the mirror when we speak about evil, because the leaders are evil. What about the people themselves? How come we have lost all sense of right and wrong? The churches are packed full on Sundays, and you ought to see the way they block the roads on Fridays. We have churches and mosques on practically every street in Nigeria, but the evil that permeates our society, that walks in daylight, the abomination that we have normalized as a people, is scary. It's scary in the extreme. It is very easy to turn around and blame our governments, and they should be blamed. But we ourselves, honestly, we should take a second look at who we are as a people. So yeah, I'm not too sure our humanity can be taken for granted anymore. I believe we need to take a second look at the makeup of the Nigerian mentality, exactly what has it normalized and what has it accepted as normal. Our humanity is suspect.
Wow, that's real deep. We're experiencing some audio challenge, so we will go on a very short break to try to. We'll try and rectify the audio challenge in a little. So viewers, stay on. We're still on. There's going to be information coming on your screen. We'll just take a short break to try and sort out this audio challenge, and we will be back. Thank you.
We have to refuse gossip. Gossip pretty much is information you cannot use. When data is not transferable, when data is not usable, when information is not movable, it is gossip.
Man of God, it's a very dicey situation. I don't want to give a blanket answer and say, oh, go and tell, or don't tell. We've got to look at every case on its own merit and then prayerfully take the steps that need to be taken.
The conversation keeps you in touch with the realities of life, links you with the greatest minds across the world, and leaves you better than ever. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. on the social media platforms showing on the screen.
There's a lot of spontaneity going on. And so being able to sit down and be selective about what qualifies for the investment of your time and your energy becomes beautiful. I mean, to ignore that will be a self-initiated attack against ourselves. So I tell people, you got to plan. You got to see the big picture now.
The conversation keeps you in touch with the realities of life, links you with the greatest minds across the world, and leaves you better than ever. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. on the social media platforms showing on the screen.
We have to refuse gossip. Gossip pretty much is information you cannot use. When data is not transferable, when data is not usable, when information is not movable, it is gossip.
Man of God, it's a very dicey situation. I don't want to give a blanket answer and say, oh, go and tell, or don't tell. We've got to look at every case on its own merit and then prayerfully take the steps that need to be taken.
The conversation keeps you in touch with the realities of life, links you with the greatest minds across the world, and leaves you better than ever. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. on the social media platforms showing on the screen.
Welcome back to the conversation. I must apologize for that slight break in transmission. Sometimes you have technical issues, and so we needed to take that break just to try and sort them out. So, Dele, you still there? Just to connect back with you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah,
okay,
I can hear you.
Yeah. Now we had to take that break. One of the things that I remember, and I guess that you can connect with it, is that where we are as a country today is not where we used to be. I'm part of a generation that experienced in Nigeria that looked like, was a safe haven for everyone. There was security everywhere. We went to public school, and we were even served meals in public school. That's the Nigeria we're part of. We were proud. We sang the national anthem. The lines that seem to divide us just were not there. And so the question is, when did we begin to depart to become a society that is so inhumane? I mean, when can you point us to when this departure began? Or what triggered it?
You know, it's a dangerous thing to go around a pastor and be quoting biblical verses. But I would pretend that I'm not speaking with the pastor. So let me say this. There's this one thing
That's
that
fine.
fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are on hedge. Yeah,
That's right.
I'm 53, my next birthday. I went to public schools as well. You and I are probably in the same generation. You probably have a few years over me. But what I do know is this: the evils that have overtaken Nigeria today were not started yesterday. It wasn't even this horrible person in office now that birthed the whole wahala. He has just merely crystallized the problems. Nigeria's problems were always there. They were there even at the dawn of its creation. It had always been part and parcel of Nigeria. And it was always a fact that eventually the the vipers that Nigeria has been incubating would eventually hatch. The contradictions of Nigeria, same contradictions that with which it is struggling with today, were the same ones that led to the first coup. They were the same contradictions that led to the second coup, and it was these same contradictions that led to the civil war. These same contradictions have lived with Nigeria, and is part and parcel of the body politic of Nigeria. We lie to ourselves, we pretend it is not there, but these have always been there. The entirety of the arguments that led to the first civil war was about citizenship. It was about equality of citizenship. It was about individual rights in a nation. The problem with Nigeria is that it has never had citizenship for those who are trapped within its borders. All it has ever offered them have been indigenship. It is the struggle for equalization of membership of the Nigerian state, the struggle for equality, equal access. And it started as a tribal thing, and it's almost always easier to couch it in tribal terms and in ethnic and religious terms. But one of the key advantages of having a very unimaginative ethnic redentist like Buhari in power is that they tend to crystallize issues quickly. When he was an Obasanjo will play the balancing game. He will take 5 of his thieves, his fellow class members. He will bring them from Katsina, take 5 from the southwest, take 5 from the southeast. He will balance it. But it was a balancing of access to stealing. It wasn't a balancing of governance for the people. But it took somebody like Buhari, who does not give two monkeys about what anybody is going to say about nepotism, about tribalism, about religious irredentism. He doesn't care about any of the isms and isms that were always spraying around in the public space in Nigeria. He played true to his own instincts. He exposed the weakness of the Nigerian structure, where a man is not bound to any laws or to any rules or to even decency, and can simply act based on his capacity to deploy power, not necessarily in the interest of the people. So when we begin to ask ourselves, when did this reign begin to beat us? We must go back to the root of our issues. It is the root. We can face that tree of impunity that governs Nigeria and begin to complain about it. Or rather, complain about its fruit, but it's the tree. It's the tree. The problem with Nigeria goes to the root of Nigeria. That is where our problems come from. It comes from there. So it's not something that it just became crystallized in recent times. It's always been there. We've never resolved the question of nationhood, citizenship, of equal rights. We've never resolved it.
Now, you said something. I mean, it's interesting. You did say that you are a citizen of an unborn nation. You did express that in one of your tweets. And because we've touched this issue of citizenship, and you taking us back in order to take us forward, what do you mean by that? If you say that you're a citizen of an unborn country or born nation, what did you mean by that statement?
Thank you. There is, I said already earlier on that Nigerians have this habit of handing words around that do not necessarily mean what the English intended for them when those words evolved. One of those words, citizen, patriotism. You cannot ask me to be patriotic if you have denied me citizenship. Patriotism is found inside citizenship. A man to whom you have denied citizenship rights cannot be asked to be making patriotic sacrifices. And I'll come to this. In South Africa, during the apartheid era, both the black and the whites were citizens, but they simply were not equal citizens. So in relation to citizenship, you had differential levels of citizenship in South Africa. So you coined the word, or they coined the word themselves, and you sought to explain it by that. It was an apartheid system. But that was understandable. It was white on black. Let's come to Nigeria. You have a situation where citizenship exists on varying scales, and it is constitutional. The lying constitution of 1999 that declares that we, the people, creates quota systems. It creates educational disadvantages. It creates all manner of levels of citizenship. It reserves rights for certain classes of citizens. But the point is this: for every right that you reserve for a man, you have equally reserved a disadvantage for another. So the man in Zamfara, a Nigerian just as myself, he might score 20 in an exam, I might score 200. But he goes in and I don't go in. And it might be that we attended the same schools from the beginning up to the point of taking the exam. And we are meant to be equal citizens of the same country. Now, let me take you to the actual realities of everyday life in Nigeria. The chief negotiator of terrorists, or facilitator of terrorists, Sheikh Gumi, was busy explaining to his children in the forest that it's Christian soldiers that are shooting you, is not your fellow Muslim soldiers. He's differentiating for them because he is signaling. These are dog whistles. There is an understanding that, look, we have gained superior citizenship for you within the Nigerian space. But there are some other citizens who are less than you in ranks, who you might legitimately target. But you see, these ones, they are like you. So those ones, they are not like you. Even the person who purports to be speaking in the name of God is also highlighting the differences that the Nigerian system, the governance system, the constitution promotes. So within the Nigerian space, you have a situation where there are differential levels of citizenship. We are not the same. So if you are asking me to be patriotic, you must first of all ask yourself, have you given me the rights of a citizen? That is one. Now, I spoke of an unborn country. Nigeria is a state that is definitely going to die. Is the challenge of Nigerians, such as myself and several others, millions of others who do not want violence, is to seek to find a way to ensure that if it's going to die, let it birth a better nation that we can all be proud of, not one that we are trying to chop into pieces and thereby chopping ourselves to pieces as well. Because the current Nigeria is unsustainable. It is already dying. Everywhere you turn in Nigeria, there is a war going on. the Southwest used to be the most peaceful part of Nigeria. They have brought it to us, even though we didn't take it to anybody. And let's face it, you're already having Yorubas who are living at the borders with the Republic of Benin State crossing as refugees into Benin Republic. That is less than 50 kilometers from Lagos. You're already having situations where people are being kidnapped wholesale, not scattered incidents now, almost on a daily basis on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Akure, Ore, same thing. One of my classmates, Baba Fashoranti's daughter, Sister Funke, was killed on that road by Fulani headsmen. Let's be sincere with ourselves. When we exercise crime, what we do is that we excuse the failure of the state. Whether the headsmen were Fulani, Igbo, Ijebu, Ijesha, doesn't matter. If the state has failed, it has failed. And the reality is that the Nigerian state has failed. And it is failing. And the reality is that it is dying. And every day it validates the insanity of those who are demanding its disempowerment. It validates the voices of the madmen calling for it to be scattered. Because the state itself, instead of taking proactive steps to arrest the decline, it is almost always the one that is found complete or completely ignorant of what it ought to do in the circumstances. So yeah, I am a citizen of an unborn nation. Because the Nigerian state that I would have loved to have as a nation has made sure that it has never become a nation and it is deliberate. There is a systemic device to divide the Nigerian people. So it's not my fault. Because Nigeria has denied me citizenship, I cannot be asked to be patriotic in relation to a country that has not given me one.
That's interesting. Now, there's something you said, and I'd want you to probably take us a little further from there, because you spoke about the Nigerian state and as it currently exists, and you used the strong word, which is death. That Nigeria as it currently exists is actually on a pathway to death. Now, and I know that you've thrown some light, for our viewers to gain understanding of what you mean. So let me speak as one who is a pastor now. And I mean, the scripture clearly makes us understand that there can't be new life without death. So the question I want to ask is, if Nigeria as it is today is on a slippery slope towards death, or is even beginning to show the symptoms of death, are you still here? Okay, I think we lost you. Dele, are you still there? Are you still there, Dele? Well, it looks like we lost him briefly. We'll try and get him back. This conversation is quite interesting, because one of the things that he's highlighted is citizenship. And I know that for many of us, when we think about citizenship, we've not really thought deep about citizenship. And when we look at Nigeria, truly we see different levels of citizenship, so to speak. And it's all been created by the special privileges that certain groups of people have been given above others. Someone said all fingers are equal, but some fingers are more equal than others. And it really is troubling when we think about the fact that just by virtue of being from a particular part of the country, you can experience, higher levels of acceptance within the Nigerian system, whether it's the political system or the governance system. Just because you're from a different part of the country, your academic excellence or performance is not really that significant. You can score low marks and still get access into institutions where those from some other parts of the country are striving, very hard to get high scores. And you know what it's like when we look at cutoff marks that have been, set up for different examinations in the country. And, it's important for us to consider that. And that's what Dele has been speaking about. And for me, I think that except these things are corrected, there are certain things that will not shift in Nigeria. And so what we're looking at today is the fact that Nigeria has significantly, massive structural problems. And until these structural problems are sorted out, until they're resolved, we're not really going anywhere. And if that's something that you would take away from here, because there are many people who are praying, and we're praying and trusting God, let there be a better Nigeria, let Nigeria change for good, and so on and so forth. But what we're beginning to discover is that except these structural foundational issues are dealt with, we cannot see the birthing of a new Nigeria. I think Dele is back. So Dele, let's hold on. We're still trying to get him. All right, we lost you for a bit of time there. I know these things happen.
I think my village witches decided that they didn't like the idea of me looking like such a fine boy on your program, so they decided to take. I'll fast over it tomorrow.
Well, that's interesting. That has become part of our lingo in Nigeria today. Whenever something goes wrong, village witches are responsible. Not them. So
Not them.
back to where we left off. You spoke about the death of Nigeria, and even for me sitting down hearing that, honestly, my heart kind of like quaked a bit. And I was saying that as one who's a pastor, I understand the principle. It's a biblical principle. There can be new life except there's death. Now, and the signs in Nigeria obviously shows not just decadence, but there are signs of death. And you've highlighted that. But here is it for me. When the Egyptian or the Arab Spring began to emerge, and the Egyptians, and other Libyans began to revolt and ask for new leadership. Again, this is focused on leadership. It was said afterwards, after they were able to oust their leaders, it was said that when we were fighting for change, we knew what we didn't want. But when we got the change that we were fighting for, we then began to ask ourselves the question, what did we really want? So, what kind of Nigeria would be the ideal Nigeria from your own perspective? And I know different people have different perspectives, but so if a nation is dying and a new nation should emerge, what kind of nation should emerge?
Thank you very much. I will travel a little far back before coming to the point. So don't worry, I might seem or sound like I'm meandering, but don't worry. My mom has this thing she says, and I take after my mom in a lot of ways. She's a very, very difficult person to please, and so am I. But there's this thing that my mother always says. She says, no matter how difficult a person might be, no matter how crazy they might even be, she can live with anyone, provided that he agrees to live by clearly understood rules. So if the rule says, if these are the rules, she will never breach the rule. No matter how crazy that other person too might be, no matter how nasty the neighbor might be, even share a room with a madman, provided that madman would obey the rules that we've all agreed that we should be bound by. Now, that presumption, if you take that lesson and that analogy and you extend it, you'll find very quickly that something is presumed. And what is presumed is that the laws that were agreed between the parties will rule. Those laws would rule and govern their behaviors. Don't forget that. Rules, governing behavior, regulating the relationship,
no matter how crazy the people are, if the law rules and people obey it, everybody will get along. That is not the case in Nigeria. That's one. Now, in the Arab Spring, they were busy talking about, yeah, they did what they didn't want, but they did not know what it was that they wanted. The challenges of the Arabs are the polar opposite of the Nigerian challenges, or perhaps even the African challenges, and I would explain myself. Our own rulers have first of all made sure that we are incapable of speaking with one voice, because if we spoke with one voice, we'll be commonly making demands of them in relation to the violent violations of our very humanity. So you find very quickly that whilst the people in Lagos were busy postponing to end SARS, protesting to end SARS, Ganduje in Kano was busy breaking beer bottles. He collected VAT money, and he has used VAT money to get his bar in Kano, paid with the VAT money from me drinking my beer and champagne in Lagos, to come and break the bottle, so that the people in Lagos who are protesting NSAS and who are beginning to talk about bad governance and impunity, they began to talk about, hey, see, religion became the point of division. So for the Arabs, they didn't have these challenges. These are ours. And it is an African challenge, because you find that the same African who is busy jesuing Charlie when they killed them in Paris, the same African who was feeling for Floyd, I can't breathe, is busy denying the humanity of his fellow African with whom he lives in the same country. Because the person is Fulani, is okay to die. The person is Yoruba, is fine to die. He is Igbo, he should be killed. His humanity is denied on account of his tribe or his religion. But you can be vicariously human and be jesuing Charlie. One person who died in France, you'll be crying in Nigeria. They killed almost over 200 people in Bama. Nobody jesu Bama. They were jesuing Charlie in Nigeria. So even our own humanity, we don't recognize it. It's only vicariously that we become human. So when the Arabs are sitting down and talking about they knew what they didn't want, but they were unsure of what it is that they do want, their challenges are different. Until Nigerians unite as a people, they are going to die together as a country. And then in blood, new nations will arise. That is the natural progression from the trajectories that we are already following. Unless we get our brains together and unite ourselves as a people, it is only then that those who have ruined our country will not escape with their loot, because their intentions are simple. Nigeria is the way it is. Steal as much, grab as much, get out. All of them are carrying second passports. They don't live in Nigeria. Their doctors are not in Nigeria. Their children do not go to school in Nigeria. But we, who have nowhere else to go, we are the ones who sit down every day and we are talking about how we are going to divide it. Exactly how many are you going to divide it into?
Different.
How? So our own challenges are different from the Arab challenges completely. Our own challenges is that we must first of all decide, do we even want to live human beings? Can Nigeria in its current state survive the kind of war that should be clear to all of us that is looming over our head if we continue to talk it in pain and act? And because the government is inciting all of us to go to war. Minister of Defense is telling you, defend yourself.
Yeah.
Police will not come to your aid when you call. You are already providing your own electricity, you provide your own water. They are telling you provide your own army. These are concerted efforts at forcing people into violence. Where is Diezani today? She's carrying a diplomatic passport around and traveling the world.
Yeah.
Each and every one of these miscreants who are in power today, they will do the same when the thing blows up. And you know the amazing thing?
Europe, America, and Asia, they are very happy to receive our funds. They can sit down and glibly talk about being interested in the sustenance of Nigeria, the sustainability. It's a lie. Blatant lies. All our monies that are stolen, they don't stay in Nigeria. They go abroad. These people live abroad. All our rulers, they are Alhajis. Whether they are Christians or Muslims, they are all Alhajis. They are strangers. They don't live in Nigeria. Those of us who live there, who should be interested in getting a new place. And let me now round it up with the question, because the question you ask is, what is my vision of what will come after this? It's simple. If we want a peaceful transition to a better new Nigeria, we must first of all do the hard work of uniting ourselves. You cannot reconcile a people without justice. Those who have stolen humongous amounts of money would not want to see that reconciliation. But we who are seeking it, who are seeking a new country, we must be brave enough to articulate what we want to see. And I'm very clear about this. I want to see a new Nigeria that is predicated on equality of citizenship. I want to see a new Nigeria that is predicated on the rule of law. I want to see a new Nigeria where every thief that has looted our commonwealth is held to account. I want to see a Nigeria where those who have wronged each other are able to look at each other in a truth and reconciliation environment. And look, I have done wrong. I've wronged you in the past. Let's move on. If we can't make a success of a conglomeration of 200 million black people in a space called Nigeria, simply because we are divided by our tribes and tongues and the religions that we have received from people who initially and originally enslaved us. There was over 300 years of Islamic slavery in northern Nigeria before the whites came with Christianity. And we still cannot find the grace to move beyond the accidents of our religiosities and ethnic differences to build a country our children will be happy to inherit, and one that can be a citadel for our entire race. Is that too much to ask of us? The whole world is trying to run to outer space. They are trying to find a way to go to another planet because they've almost killed this one. And we are raising to... I know that eventually, if push comes to shove, and the insanity that has already permeated Nigeria is not reversed, Nigeria will die naturally. So the secessionists will eventually get their ways. But before they will get their ways, a lot of lives would have been ruined, a lot destroyed unnecessarily. If we are willing to lose our lives fighting for ethnic homelands, why should it be so difficult to find the courage to battle the 1% that have destroyed the country for all of us? So our challenges are much different from the Arab. It would be nice to say that I see a glorious tomorrow that will be revealed after the 2023 election. But the truth of the matter is I need not wear Elijah's mantle before I can say categorically, I say it with all emphasis at my disposal. If this trajectory persists, there will be no Nigeria in 2023 for anyone to be voting in. But as glib as that might sound, there's a lot of human life that would have been lost, destroyed, unnecessarily. If we can find the courage to pick up guns, why is it so difficult to find the courage to talk to ourselves?
Deep words to ponder upon. There's so many questions in my mind. How much more blood do we need to shed to get to that point where we feel enough is enough? Because again, when we're looking at the subject of our inhumanity, people are dying every day, whether it's bandits, it's herdsmen, it's because of poor infrastructure, road accidents, and people, we just don't seem to care. I mean, today, if an accident happens on the road and you see heavily mutilated bodies, those who are on the same road will bring out their phones and they would begin to film it and record. so they can put on social media and more like say, I was there when it happened. You know, so when we look at the numbers of people that have died, and you've said something, you've spoken about our unity, but you see, how do we galvanize that unity? Because you're spot on. If we're united, we'll be able to take our place as Nigerians and to force out all the ills that we see in our society, and especially with the ruling class. But you see, galvanizing our thoughts together seems to be a challenge. When NSAS happened, and I'll take you back, sorry, I'm saying a lot to get to this point. When NSAS happened, many Nigerians were hopeful and thought, is this what is going to help to bring about a turning in Nigeria? But you also spoke about the division that we began to see, especially in northern Nigeria, and how they were able to polarize us at the end of the day. But certain people began to now look back to, for example, those who led protests sometime in 2010, you know, especially Ojota and some of those, and began to say, look, where are they? Let them show up. This is when we need you. And the truth is, some of those people, like Professor Wole Soyinka, they've paid their dues. They are aged, you know, today. So will there be a rallying point? You know, we keep speaking about this unity. Who's going to be the arrowhead, so to speak? Or are we just going to continue to talk and hope that at the end of the day, something happens out of our just talk?
Okay. I'll first of all like to pay tribute to the several heroes of the NSAS protest, not just the martyrs that were wickedly and inhumanly killed and are still having their humanities denied by a most evil nation and its wicked rulers. I must first of all pay tribute to them and acknowledge their sacrifice. May God, in His mercy, grant them rest. Now, having said that, let me quickly draw our attention to something. And this is the fact that the NSAS movement was a protest against a narrow issue. That narrow issue was about police brutality. Those who promoted the NSAS movement were not interested in seeing the end of the Buhari regime or in seeing the end of the 1999 constitution. They were seeking a systemic reform of the Nigerian police. So the NSAS protest was about a narrow issue. But as narrow as the issue might be, it resonated because the impunity that governs the SARS unit is emblematic of the impunity that governs the whole of Nigeria. So at every point, one Nigerian youth or the other had felt the worst excesses of the SARS unit. So they could identify with that struggle. I applaud the work that they did, but there is something that you begin to notice when you begin to interrogate these things. And that is the fact that they had nothing to say really about the humongous amount that those who rule us have legitimately arrogated to themselves. It was the narrow issue of excessive use of force by police unit, but it still generated and galvanized interest. So what I need us to understand is that if the issues had been more spread out and it was about bad governance which began to emerge after the protest had started, if it was about the impunity which began to emerge after the protest had started, if it was about the citizenship rights that have been denied to all Nigerians, whether they are in Katsina, the people in Kankara, they are Katsina, they are Fulani people. But nobody is talking about it. If we had, and let me explain, and I keep saying this, they faced a narrow issue. What should be coming next, which is what people like myself are interested in seeing, is a nationwide push for the end of this iniquitous system, a demand. You see, you said it earlier on in your question. What do you want to see when this ends? Because this will certainly end. I first wrote a book 2 years ago, Do Not Die in Their War. I annexed the 59-page draft constitution to it. That draft constitution is recommending a return to the 1963 Republican Constitution, which was the last time Nigerians agreed how they want to be ruled. I tweaked it. We tweaked it slightly to increase the number of regions from the 4 that were there in 1963. In the 1963 Constitution, we tweaked it to increase it to 6, taking account of the constitutional conferences that were held under Abacha, the ones that were held under Obasanjo, and the ones that were held under Jonathan. A general consensus that goes back to the 1957 Willings Commission is that Nigeria should have a 6-region structure. We went back there. Other people have had fantastic ideas about how to move Nigeria forward. But the cornerstone of every suggestion has been a return to federalism, a return to strong federating regions, a return to the normalcy that allows for proper federation, and not one where the federal government is the one creating states, creating local government, over centralizing everything. So if it is possible for Nigerians to rally around a central platform for the rebirth of Nigeria, you will see it happen. The same way Nigerians rallied around the NSAS protest, they will rally around a return to some sort of normalcy instead of this gridlock in which we are all existing. So yes, the NSAS protest was an excellent, in fact, it was a success. It succeeded beyond, I'm sure, the widest imaginations of those who put it together. And if nothing else, if the sacrifices of those who are murdered must not be in vain, Nigerians must wake up to one reality quickly. We are not in a democracy. Nigeria is a fascist state. It is only in a fascist state that soldiers will turn their guns on those who should be citizens. Not only kill them, as if it's not bad enough that these people were murdered. Up till today, the states, both Lagos State, the Nigerian police, the Nigerian state itself, are still busy lying, denying the humanity, the very humanity of those who died. This is in spite of the fact that multiple investigative journalists have established the identities of people who died.
Affected, yeah.
And yet, we are still hearing the lies. And the Nigerians, the same ones for whom we bleed every day and for whom those people who died, are busy helping the government to deny their humanity. Somebody like Yele is in Abuja, unable to be with his family, suffering because of them. They will abuse him. So you begin to ask yourself, are we even human? Are we sane? So our issues are several. It's not like the Arabs, our own are many, and we need to look to ourselves.
Wow. Well, this next question that I'm going to put to you has to do with the constituency that I represent, so the church. And when we look at religious institutions in Nigeria and the role that we have played. So from your own perspective, and this is not just about the church now, so we could broaden it and say religious, institutions in Nigeria. Are we helping to move Nigeria forward, or do you think that we are part of the problem? So I'm speaking now about the institutions that are expressed through religion. And maybe I'll add this, what should we be doing?
I am very grateful for the question you just asked me. Reason being that I believe it was yesterday I posted something on Twitter, which I copied on Facebook and other platforms where I'm engaged. And I said something along the line that the Nigerian clergy would have a special place reserved for it in hell, something along those lines, because they've helped to strengthen the fetters of oppression. And I would explain myself. Religion must always be separated from godliness, in my own view. I haven't been in a church in almost 2 years. I used to be a very religious person who would go to church twice a week, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. I was deep in my church activities, but I stopped going to church. But I thank God that it has not managed to affect my own relationship with God. But that is the problem right there. Most Nigerians, unfortunately, because they are constantly battling with survival, they really depend on their pastors and their imams to guide them spiritually and to point them in the right direction. Unfortunately, the unfortunate thing about the Nigerian is that he has been left open to a most rapacious class of religious charlatans. There are several good men and women too who are religious, who pastors churches or who are imams in mosque. I'm sure that there are several good people. But the Bible says that by their fruit you shall know them. I look all around me in Nigeria and I see the proliferation of churches and religious houses, but I also see the proliferation of idolatry. Men are worshiping men who have turned themselves and are no longer men of God but have become gods of men.
Wow.
Narcissists who have elevated themselves and their ego above the grace of God that is at work in their lives. So instead of giving glory to God, they appropriate the praises that should be due to God, and they are not touched by the afflictions of their flock. So you find that the people live in abject poverty, and the religious rulers are living in opulence. The Christian clergy has been a very soft target for almost all Nigerians. The pastors are the easiest people to come after. So we speak about pastors who have private jets. I'm not going to join the bash a pastor clan. It's not about bashing any pastors, but our religious rule. I'm a Christian, so I can only speak directly to the pastors. My question is, if your society is collapsing like Nigeria is collapsing, it is not sufficient to simply be telling the people to pray for their leaders. When are the pastors going to take on the spirit of Martin Luther King? When are they going to become Lutheran in their thinking to the point where they tell their flock the truth that must be told? Why is it that in Nigeria, with all the churches we have, it has become an act of bravery to simply speak the truth?
Oh my.
How? It doesn't make any sense that the only reason that a man is considered an hero or a hero is because he told the truth. That shouldn't be a big deal. With all the churches in our country, look at Lagos, for instance. That is one of the filthiest, most corrupt states in Nigeria. All the pastors, big pastors, they are in that town. Every one of them are right here. The pastors will host the same thieves that are stealing us blind, and they will say, pray for them. People that you should direct your flock to us, you are asking them to pray for them. In all honesty, for me, religion, to understand it, one must go to the root. The word religion comes from the Latin word religare. It means to bind. The Nigerians have been sufficiently bound to the point where he is even encouraged to stop using his brain and to stop asking questions. He can't ask questions of the rulers. He can't ask questions of his imam. He can't ask questions of his pastors. You must just follow your leader, obey. How do you explain the explosion and proliferation of the church? Nigeria should be over-salted. If ye are the salt of the heart, Nigeria should be over-salted. But instead of being over-salted, our salt has lost its saltiness. The most vile evil proceed. The situation in Nigeria is not just the church, it's the society itself. The church has become part and parcel of the society. It has become conformed to the world. Everything that you might say you are looking for in the world, you find it in the church. It's right there. It's right there in the mosque as well. Gumi is the chief negotiator with terrorists. His father before him was one of the chief facilitators of extremist Islam in Nigeria. So exactly what good has religion done the Nigerian people? So for me, the religious class in Nigeria have merely compounded Nigeria's problem. I have no problem with anybody's faith. You are a pastor. You've provided a platform. This is an example of nation building. Whether I've talked nonsense, you provided a platform. You've asked questions. You are not afraid to ask the difficult questions. You're doing something. Where are the others? It's okay. So Pastor Sam, I believe, came out during the NSAS protest. Okay, so all those people who died on the 20th of October, how many pastors in the city of Lagos is demanding justice for them?
Wow. Oh boy.
Their death, their blood is crying out for judgment. The Khan is busy bestowing honors on Sanwo-Olu the other day. Where is the conscience of the Nigerian church?
Wow.
Where is the conscience of the Nigerian church? God will ask them. God will make demand of each and everyone who have in his name bound the Nigerians, telling people to fast and pray when they should be standing up to demand their rights. There is a place for fasting. There is a place for praying. But there is a place for standing up for the truth. The Nigerian church has not been found standing up for any truth. That doesn't separate the Muslims either. None of them is equally speaking. So, but I'm a Christian. I can only speak in terms of my own faith.
Your own constituency. I mean, that's appreciated. I mean, these are heavy blows coming from you, but obviously truth must be spoken. And these are deep thoughts for those who, are joining this broadcast to really think. There's a lot that you have spoken. Again, when we look at that same constituency, there are those who will tell you that, the Martin Luther King Jr. phenomenon was just for the American church, and that pastors should just stay within their pulpit and just preach and not be involved in civic engagement, in speaking truth to power, and so on and so forth. So what's your take on that? I mean, this connects with what was said previously. Was what happened in America just an American thing? Are you of the opinion that people need, especially those in leadership in the church, need to step up, to the plate?
See, the truth of the matter is that I think there's this popular cliche. It says, "Cometh the hour, cometh the man." Martin Luther King was just another man, or as the Bible will say, a man of like passion. But he saw injustice, and he did what Christ would have done. That's all he did. He did what Christ would have done. He stood up for those without a voice. He knew that he was taking risks that might involve his own life, but it did not stop him from doing what he believed was right. He didn't wait to read verses in the Bible He didn't wait for God to draw. And he never, even when he preached at Selma, he never once said that God woke him up in the middle of the night and said to him, "Oh, Martin Luther, go and do this for me, fight for you." It is a function of you knowing what is right and doing what is right. If I come to you, a victim of the violent economic deprivation of the Nigerian state, as my pastor, and you say to me, let's pray for you, pray for me, and then you tell me to go and hope and believe in God for a better tomorrow. But your son comes to you and says that, Daddy, in fact, before the son comes, the son that wouldn't go to the same of the schools that my own children, I can barely afford it. So the average parishioner, the child went to Covenant University, he struggled to put his own child through a private university. I'm not going to bash anyone. He put his own child through the private university. Pastor's child went to school abroad, comes back. Even if he went to the Nigerian school, he is not going to fast and pray to get a job. He might fast and pray in thanksgiving. Pastor is simply going to call maybe the pastor who is our VP, or another pastor who is in one oil company somewhere, or a parishioner who owns a oil platform somewhere. Pastor is not going to be fasting and praying. He's going to use the privilege of his position to ensure that his own child is not subjected to the deprivation in that society. Now, is there anything wrong with a pastor taking care of his own child? Obviously not. I will take care of mine. But what is wrong is for the pastor to know that the system that he has kept quiet about is what has rendered people systematically pauperized. But he is keeping quiet because to talk will be to offend the persons that he reaches when he needs to reach people on behalf of his own children. He's not going to be fasting and praying over them. He can fast and pray in thanksgiving. So when people turn around and say that that's an American situation, is it only Americans who must live before they die? Nigerians, increasingly, the only thing the Nigerian is hearing is that when he gets to heaven, he would enjoy his life. Whether he go, for the Muslim ones, they tell him he has so many virgins waiting for him in heaven. For the Christian one, they're telling him, be a good Christian. You have heaven is waiting for you. Can't he enjoy heaven on earth? Why must he wait to die before his life gets better? And then somebody is saying that it's not an American situation. It's not just an American context. The evil the church has condoned, for instance, and I'll round this up on these issues. The CAC, I think that's part C of the CAC that now affects the church. The impunity that the church kept quiet about is what has happened with CAC now. So all of a sudden, the church is discovering his voice and is talking about how CAC cannot regulate it. You kept quiet all this time when this monster was growing. Yorubas have this proverb. They say, "Kékeré la ti ń pẹ̀ka àrókò, tó bá dàgbà tán, á gbàkẹ́ ewúrẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹni." If you do not stem a problem at its root from the beginning, by the time it gets big, it will begin to demand sacrifices they are unhappy to give. The Nigerian church need not wait for America to point the way. The Bible has pointed the way sufficiently. You have a duty as a Christian to speak for those without voices. Why are they not speaking? Why are they waiting for America? Martin Luther King does not need to explain that to them. They don't require Martin Luther King to do the right thing. It is a function of what would Christ do. That is the question the Nigerian church should be asking itself. What would Jesus Christ have done? Would he have kept quiet waiting for Martin Luther King? How many pastors have asked for justice for those who died at that toll gate? How many of them are busy praying for the government that was complicit in those murders? Their silence tightens the lips of their parishioners, takes the mind away from the troubles. The refusal to speak the uncomfortable truth, which they should feel confident to speak, particularly behind the pulpit, renders those who speak those truths as men who should be silenced. When the pastor will not talk, why are you talking? And when you talk, exactly what good is it when the people themselves have nothing to say in chorus? So we have enough madness and putrefaction.
Well, this, thank you, Dilly. This is a wake-up call, no doubt. And one of the things you've said, and you did say it earlier, was that, and you mentioned the names of a few pastors, I mean, who have spoken out, you know, even during the NSAS and in other situations in Nigeria. But I think that it is very obvious that everybody needs to hear this, and there needs to be an overwhelming majority of people speaking. We have lone voices out there who are speaking and who are calling, you know, to leadership and so on, and demanding for change and justice. But the voices are just so minuscule when you look at the level of atrocities that have taken place within our country. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you this question, and we need to begin to close this conversation tonight. And honestly, with the things that have been said, I am looking forward to a part 2. If you will oblige us, it will be a pleasure, honestly, to have you back again and just
Anytime.
Really, thank you so much. Now, so let me ask you this question. If the present administration were to offer you a position,
God forbid, you don't need to go far, don't worry, it won't happen. Well, I will never, ever accept to serve in any position that would have me swearing under the 1999 Constitution. It will never happen. Don't even bother talking about it. It will never happen. I'll be dead long before that happens.
Don't you think you will become a catalyst for change to bring about, you know, the birthing or the renewing of our Constitution?
See, let me quickly say this. I am a man who has always been blessed to have clarity about the journey of my life. I'm not always a detailed person. I might not know what I'll be doing in a year from now, but I've always had clarity about where my life is going and what I'm doing. Whilst I was still in the university, I knew I was going to retire when I turned 50. I always had a pretty good idea of who I was going to marry, and I'm blessed to marry the woman that God had created for me. But there is something that is very clear that I need to communicate quickly, and this is the fact that no government in Nigeria would ever offer me a role to change Nigeria, and the reason is simple. If a house is divided against itself, the house falling. Give me the power to change Nigeria for 24 hours. I will remove everybody who is in government office in Nigeria today, without exception, because not one of them is fit for purpose. So how can a man, the most unfit for purpose that have ever occupied that office in this republic, Muhammadu Buhari, is incompetent in the extreme? That person will now appoint me, Dele Farotimi, to come and do what? Is it to chase him out of office? If that's the office, I'll take it happily. Even if it means having to swear by that nonsense constitution, I'll do that. But frankly speaking, even in an hypothetical form, I can tell anyone without any doubt on my mind, I will never accept either an elective or selective office in Nigeria under the 1999 Constitution. When we might have gotten rid of that fraudulent document, I might decide I want to be the president, or I might elect to be the councillor in my village. It will be a call to service that I'll be happy to take on. But any office under, see that constitution. Somebody was cracking a joke today. He said, all the evil people in Nigeria that are on the same WhatsApp group, it is the 1999 Constitution that is the rule book for their WhatsApp group. How can I be a member of that kind of coven? Nothing good is Let them know. Anyone you know who has stood and taken an oath with that 1999 constitution, be looking at him with second eye when you see him. Nothing good can come out of that document. Don't worry, they won't call somebody like me. I want nothing to do with it.
Well, this has been interesting. Again, I think it is very clear from the things that we have heard today that the foundation of our country really is faulty right from its onset. And our constitution is clearly one of the significant documents. It's really the foundational document for any country. And we do need to go back to look at how we must be a country, how we must be united, and how we must be a country that represents the dreams and aspirations of all Nigerians. And I think that's
Amen.
one consistent thread that has run right through everything that has been said today. We know about constitutional conference, constitutional reforms. We know about reviews to that document. And I think it is obvious, well, that we are heading in a direction, hopefully, that will lead to the birth of a new Nigeria. And
Amen.
Dele, I know where you stand, and I know that you have seen a lot and witnessed a lot. And I see the hope in you too, but I know that you also expect that certain things must come into being before your hope can truly come alive. Again, tonight, I want to thank you for being on the conversation. It has been really impactful. It has been very enriching. There's so much that has been spoken that everyone on this platform and those who have joined us and other people who would obviously watch this broadcast need to glean on and really sit down and think and rethink Nigeria, and also become instruments that would help to create the birthing of a new nation. I can't thank you enough. Do you have any last words you want to say to the people before we close today?
Oh, thank you very much for this kind of opportunity again. I'd like to tell Nigerians this. I know that everything about our current trajectories, our realities would suggest that we should be despondent. And I've heard a lot of you who have been pretty despondent about the situation in Nigeria. I've heard people speak out of despair, and yeah, it is easy to despair in the face of the overwhelming tragedies that befall us almost on a daily basis as Nigerians. But we have several reasons to also be optimistic. And one of those is the fact that we are a blessed people, that we still breathe, we still go around, we still survive in spite of everything that these wicked people have thrown at us. It's because we are blessed. We will find a way out of our mess. But we must also remember the people who afflict us are not divided. Let us stop dividing ourselves. Please, let's stop dividing ourselves. Thank you very much. And thank you, Pastor. I appreciate the opportunity I've been given. Thank you. I don't know what happened, but I love the voice.
I was saying
Okay.
thank you for
I
being
can hear you
on the
now.
platform, and thank you for availing yourself. And we extend our love to your family, and we
Thank you
thank God for
very
them
much.
and the place they are and the role they play in your life. God bless you.
Thank you.
God
And you
bless
too,
you. Have a
sir. God bless
wonderful
you, sir.
evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
And you
you.
too, sir.
Thank
Bye,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right then. Well, here we are. I don't know what you think. I thought we were going to see lots of questions buzzing, but it is obvious that we're going to have Dele back on the conversation sometime in the future. He's a man truly who speaks with a lot of conviction and with boldness. I mean, you've heard him tonight. I'm sure some of you have heard it at other times. He speaks without fear, and he speaks truth. The things he has said tonight are significant for us to think about and to think upon. I believe that this country will thrive. However, we must be arrested from the trajectory of decadence and death. That is our responsibility collectively as a people. That's our responsibility as a church and as the body of Christ. And every other religious institution should also key into it, because a nation is made up of diverse kinds of people of different faiths and beliefs. But I speak for the body of Christ, and the things that have been spoken today for me are significant. We truly must be the voice of justice in a land where injustice is extremely scarce and hard to find. And everyone from the pulpit to the pew has a responsibility to play. Thank you for joining us on the conversation tonight. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you next week, Thursday, for another amazing conversation. So from me to you, we want to thank all of you for joining us and for all your comments that you've put on the screen. And trust me, next week is going to be another amazing time. I am your host, Sola Adesoye, and it is a joy to have hosted the conversation tonight. God bless you.